What is going on? Jamin here with Exalted Vigor Athletics, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can lose fat in 5 easy steps. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is controlling your overall intake. Now, this can be done intuitively, which means controlling your satiety and hunger cues, or it can be done quantitatively. Now, that means controlling your intake via a nutrition log or counting your calories like via MyFitnessPal. Now, to do so, you need to be in a caloric deficit below your maintenance caloric intake. And to figure out your maintenance caloric intake, you need one, your basal metabolic rate, which is just how many calories you're burning through day without your activity level taken into consideration. Now, to figure out what's your actual maintenance intake, you need BMR, activity level multiplier, and you either need your body fat percentage or you need your height, age, weight, and gender. And MyFitnessPal calculates this for you, or you can find a calculator online. Now, from here, being in a caloric deficit is typically in a range anywhere below that intake. However, you do want to be cognizant of how low you are in that caloric deficit, because if you're too aggressive, it can result in detriment down the line, which means like a fat loss plateau, and some other things that really aren't going to be beneficial as far as energy levels. So let's say, for example, that your maintenance intake is 2,500 calories. Now, if you eat below this intake, over time, your weight is going to go down. However, your aggressiveness in your caloric deficit will determine how fast that happens. And it will also determine how easy it is for you to retain muscle or your energy levels. So a more aggressive caloric deficit is going to be a little harder to keep your energy levels up and is going to be a little harder to maintain your muscle. And so typically that's where we follow a little less aggressive an approach, which typically is going to be either anywhere between 20 to 10% of your caloric reduction. So on the 10% reduction is going to be at 2250 of your caloric intake, and that's going to be a more slow fat loss protocol. Now, if we're going a little more aggressive than that, typically it's going to be anywhere between 60 and 70%. So a 60% reduction puts you at 1500 calories. Both of these are going to be a caloric reduction, and you will lose weight over time. However, obviously 1500 is going to be quicker and 2250 is going to be slower. Now, while it's really important to reduce your overall caloric intake in order to lose fat, you can also increase your activity level and burn more calories per day. Now, this can involve walking and burning 250 calories, or circuit training and burning upwards of 500 calories per session. Now, you do want to do something that you can maintain for the long term and that you enjoy doing on a regular basis. So that even includes dancing, playing volleyball, anything that's going to increase the calories that you're burning per day and also get your heart rate elevated. Now, I do want to mention that if you are trying to build muscle and shape your physique, you do want to perform resistance training. So that means either calisthenics or weight training in order to shape your physique and build muscle. Additionally, you do want to be careful that you don't double count your calories that you're burning. So your activity level, when you set your maintenance caloric intake, will take into consideration how many calories that you're burning per day with your activity level taken into consideration. So if you do track your calories and also track your activity level, so let's say your cardio session, your resistance training session, you may end up double counting how many calories that you're burning, and that can be really detrimental because you actually might not be in a caloric deficit if you're not careful. Now, thirdly, it's extremely important that you be consistent. That means consistent with your caloric deficit and consistent with your activity. You don't lose weight by being on for 2 weeks and being off for 2 weeks. You need to be consistent in order to lose weight in the long term, because you don't lose 10 pounds overnight, you lose it on a day-by-day and week-by-week basis. If you're inconsistent, you're not going to see results. Now, it is also important to be realistic when you're goal setting, either setting your caloric deficit or setting out your activity levels. So you do want to take in consideration what you can actually manage. So if you can't manage 6 days a week working out, don't plan for 6 days a week working out. However, if you can do, let's say 3 times per week for an hour session, and that's something you can maintain for the long term, you're going to have a lot easier go maintaining that for a long term and not feeling like you're slacking off or that you should give up just because you aren't able to maintain it. By being consistent on a long-term basis, you're going to be able to lose weight because you lose 10 pounds on a day-by-day and week-by-week basis, not one-off and overnight. So being consistent is one of the most important parts of being able to lose fat. Fourthly, lifestyle changes. By making some small adjustments to your daily lifestyle, you can either burn more calories or you can decrease your caloric intake per day. So that can involve walking, choosing the stairs instead of the elevator. On the nutrition front, that might mean cooking at home more instead of going out to eat. Because when you cook at home, you have more control over the ingredients and how many calories that you're consuming rather than picking something off of a menu. Additionally, you might change the amount of caloric beverages you have. So reducing the amount of sodas that you have, changing from a super high calorie coffee beverage to a slightly lower one. All of these lifestyle changes that you make add up over time and add up for your betterment when you're trying to lose fat. Lastly, look at the big picture. It's entirely possible to make leaps and bounds towards your fat loss goal without decreasing your body weight, and I mean body weight significantly, which means that your body composition is changing. That means your fat mass is decreasing and your lean body mass is increasing, which is a body composition change without a significant weight loss change. So to do so, you need to figure out what's happening to your body fat or body composition in the way of circumference measurements. Additionally, you can make a lot of qualitative progress. So by tracking your progress pictures or your energy levels or how you feel and when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can make significant progress on these fronts without your actual body weight changing significantly. Now, recapping everything, in order to lose fat, you need to firstly, 1, decrease your caloric intake to be in a caloric deficit so you can lose fat. Secondly, by being more active and increasing your activity level, you can burn more calories or shape your physique. Thirdly, to keep those 2 points and use them to your advantage, you need to be consistent in the long term. Fourthly, making some small adjustments to your lifestyle can either increase your activity level or decrease the overall calories that you're consuming. And lastly, look at the big picture. You can make significant progress towards your goal without actually having your body weight change a significant amount by way of body composition change, which can actually be tracked quantitatively or qualitatively. So that's all for today's video, and I will see you in the next one.